Hello everyone. In this video I am going to talk to you about questions which are based on assertion and reason. Right? This is for class 9th physics. And now we'll take a chapter motion here. Now what is meant by assertion? Assertion is nothing but a statement of fact. For example, let's say action and reaction are equal and opposite, right? It's a statement. Or inertia is the property of a body to resist any change in its position. It's a statement, right? So assertion is a statement. Now for the statement there is a reason, and then some questions will be asked. Let us find out what type of questions will be there. You may expect this in your term 1 examination or even term 2 examination, right? Since it's new to you for class 9th, I'm going to take up one simple example and then you can carry on with many examples, right? Initially there will be a kind of confusion that how we have to attempt this. So the moment you find assertion and reason based MCQs, you will find initially the directions, right? And what is that direction tells us that there will be a statement of assertion, okay? Bold assertion in bracket bold A, and then that is followed by a reason R, okay? And then after that there will be 4 choice given as usual. For any of the multiple choice question we take a choice of A, B, C, D. In the same way we have a choice, okay, and this choice will be same for all the assertion and reason based MCQs. Now what are these choices? Well, as I said, assertion is a statement. So for that statement there will be a reason, and then on those statements the options are given, such as option A, both assertion and reason are true, and reason R is a correct explanation of assertion A. In the same way, both option B, both assertion A and reason R are true, but reason R is not the correct explanation of assertion A. Accordingly, C and D, I'm not going to read that, you can read on your own. We'll take one simple assertion, that is a statement of fact, and the reason, and find out what is the answer, okay? And that will give you a clear picture of how you can attempt for this. And here is the assertion, that is a statement. And what is that statement tells us? That, read carefully this statement: displacement for a course of motion may be 0. I'll repeat, displacement for a course of motion may be 0, but the corresponding distance covered is not 0. That's a statement. And the reason for this is, you see, displacement and distance covered may not always equal. Look at the word may not always equal. This he says that it's a reason for the above statement. Now coming back to the question, displacement and the distance. Let us not discuss about this. Assume that you know that displacement is the shortest distance between the initial and the final position, and the distance is the actual path covered, right? Having understood this, we'll go ahead, or we shall take an example. Let's say there is an object, right? An object moves from its position. This is its initial position, and if it moves, let's say for a distance of 1 meter, it's moving for a distance of 1 meter. So what's the distance covered? Actual path covered by the object. We are checking here the linear motion, that is a rectilinear motion which moves on a straight path, right? So distance is 1 meter, right? And suppose if that ball returns on the same path, right, and gets into its initial state, right, where it was earlier, then what is the distance covered? The distance covered is 2 meter. Right. What will be the displacement? You all know that displacement is the shortest distance between the initial and the final position, and therefore when the initial and final position coincide at one point, and therefore the displacement, as you are always thinking, is zero in this case. Hello? Right? Now you can see that displacement can sometimes be zero, but distance cannot be zero. Right? So this example tells us that displacement sometimes can be zero, but distance is always non-zero. And look at the assertion A. Displacement for a course of motion may be zero, but the corresponding distance covered is not zero. Don't you agree with this? It's true. We have seen in this example. Right? So you can see this. Option A speaks assertion A is true. Option B speaks assertion A is true. Option C speaks assertion A is true. Now let me tell you whether the reason R is true or not. Okay, let us take an example. Okay, let's have a object again at a position A, and then it moves to a position B. Right? And how much of distance covered? Again 1 meter, we'll say that. So what is the distance? 1 meter. And what is the displacement? That distance itself the shortest distance, because it is not returned to its initial position. So since it's not returned to its initial position, what is the displacement? Displacement is just 1 meter. In this case, a distance and displacement is same. It is not so in every case. We have taken here a linear motion, straight line motion. Right? So since its distance and displacement is same here, but in previous cases, displacement can become a zero, but distance cannot become a zero. So having understood this, look at the statement. Displacement and the distance covered may not always equal. Yes, it's a true statement. Displacement and the distance covered may not always equal. In this case, it is equal, whereas in the above case, it is not equal. So that's why may not always equal. Sentence is true. Right? Now go back to the options now. Both assertion A and reason R, first option, are true, and reason R is the correct explanation of assertion A. Now what we have to think is this reason R, displacement, distance and distance covered may not always equal, is this the correct explanation for the assertion A? Now you can just read now these, take a pause and read. Is this, both are true statement, but is the second statement is the correct reason for the first statement? Okay, next. B. Both assertion A and reason R are true, but reason R is not the correct explanation of assertion A. Right? Now we'll see what would be the correct explanation for option A. That's assertion A. And what does assertion A speaks? Displacement, of course, for a course of motion may be zero, but the corresponding distance covered not zero. Why? Because in case of body coming back to the initial position, right, then only it will be zero, otherwise it cannot be zero. That should have been the reason here. Right? But here the reason is displacement and distance covered may not always equal. That's the correct statement, but that is not the reason for the first assertion. So which one of these two you will choose? B. You can even go through C and D, which you will find is not correct. So B is the correct answer for this. Right? Again, go through this video and find out yourself why I have told you that B is the correct answer. Right? So what you have to write is just option B. So for this question, in your OMR sheet, you have to just write option B. Explanation is not required. You should know what is the explanation. Okay. Such simple statement they'll give, and gives a reason also. Sometimes reason is true, but that is not the actual reason for the first statement. And that you should take it and read it properly. Okay. And this is what you have to write. Just answer B. Okay. Thank you.